My name is Javier and I'm 24 years old now, but this all started when I was 22. I had just gotten into medical school. That sentence still feels surreal to say, not because I didn't believe in myself, but because no one else did, especially my family. I don't come from a place where achievements are celebrated equally. In our house, my older brother Jorge was the golden child, straight-A student, captain of the basketball team, obedient and always impeccably put together. Then there was me, the artistic one, the quiet one, the kid who liked anatomy diagrams a little too much, the one who didn't follow the plan. Jorge got into medical school 2 years before me, and when he did, it was like the queen herself had RSVP'd to an event. I remember coming home from class that day to find balloons, banners, and even a catering truck in the driveway. The backyard was packed with neighbors, coworkers, cousins I hadn't seen in years, all toasting to the future Dr. Jorge. My parents gave speeches. My mom cried, and my dad kept saying things like, "This is what happens when hard work pays off." I was proud of him, truly, but something about the way everyone acted, like he was the only one who dared to dream big, stuck with me. 2 years later, I applied to medical schools in secret. No announcements, no wish me luck. I didn't even tell my parents I was taking the entrance exams until I'd already scored exceptionally well. I studied at dawn between shifts at the health center, where I worked as a receptionist. I used every break to review flashcards. I watched recorded lectures during dinner, while everyone else was glued to reality TV. And then one morning, I opened the email that changed everything. "Congratulations, you've been accepted." I stared at it. I reread it 10 times before letting myself believe it. Then I called my best friend Mateo, and we screamed like lunatics over the phone. That night, I printed the email and left it on the kitchen table. I didn't say anything, I just waited. The next morning, my mom congratulated me in a casual, distracted tone, like I'd told her I'd been promoted to assistant manager at a supermarket. My dad glanced at the letter and muttered, "Huh, didn't think you'd pull it off, but congrats." That sentence echoed in my head for days. Didn't think you'd pull it off. No smile, no hug, no "I'm proud of you." Just a throwaway comment like I'd stumbled into it. It hurt more than I expected. And when Jorge texted me, "Heard the news. Welcome to the club, little bro," I knew he meant well, but even that felt like a condescending pat on the head. I could have let it go. I told myself they didn't mean to be cruel, that maybe they just didn't get it. But when I asked if we could have a small dinner, not a party, just something simple with family, my mom blinked like I'd asked her to cost in a mortgage. "Well, we just did something big for Jorge not long ago," she said, "and money's tight." I didn't remind her that Jorge's celebration had cost nearly €5,000. I just nodded and said I understood. That night, I called Mateo. "We're throwing our own party," I told him. "Something small, just close friends, people who actually believe in me." He was all in, offering his aunt's penthouse terrace with a view of the city and soft lights strung over a wooden deck. We planned it for 2 weekends later. I paid for everything myself: charcuterie boards, drinks, candles, music. I even rented a photo booth. Why not? I wanted it to feel like a memory worth keeping. I didn't invite my family. At first, it wasn't about spite, it was self-preservation. I didn't want awkward vibes or half-hearted applause. I didn't want my sister Sophia showing up to tell everyone how Jorge had 3 university offers, not just one. I wanted unfiltered joy, so I didn't tell them. I didn't post anything on social media, just a single story after the party. A candid photo a friend took of me laughing, drink in hand, lights twinkling behind me, captioned, "Made it." I didn't expect what came next. Turns out, a friend of Mateo's who came to the party worked for a local newspaper. They'd been running a column on local rising stars, highlighting young people from the area doing big things. That friend submitted a blurb about me without telling me. 2 days after the party, a photo of me smiling in front of a simple white cake that said "Future Dr. Javier" appeared in the Sunday Society section. It wasn't huge, just a half-page box with the headline, "Local Student Celebrates Medical School Admission with Close Friends." I didn't even know it was published until Sophia sent me a screenshot. No congratulations, no emojis, just, "You had a party and didn't invite us." I stared at her message for a long time. Then came a text from my mom, "Why didn't we know about this?" Then my dad, "This is in the paper. What will people think?" And then Jorge, "Bro, this feels a bit petty." I didn't respond. They weren't upset because they missed me. They were upset because other people saw they weren't there. That night, Sophia called. I let it ring 4 times before picking up. Her voice was icy. "I had to find out from a newspaper that my own brother threw a party," she said. "Do you know how embarrassing that is?" I stayed calm. "Not as embarrassing as hearing your own dad say he didn't think you'd make it." She went quiet for a moment. I thought she might apologize, but then she scoffed. "You're being dramatic." And there it was, the disdain I'd grown up with. I hung up without another word. Next week, things got weird. Jorge showed up at my job with coffees, acting casual like he was just in the area. "Look," he said, "I get it. You worked hard, you deserved a party. But not even inviting mom and dad, that's kind of harsh, man." I asked if he remembered what dad said the day I got in. He didn't answer. I asked if he'd ever thought about what it was like to be in his shadow. He said, "It's not a competition." Maybe it wasn't, but I'd been keeping score since I was a kid. A few days later, my mom tried to guilt trip me with a family WhatsApp group message, a photo of the backyard set up with chairs and snacks, captioned, "Family's always there when it matters." I didn't respond. That weekend, I ran into an old teacher at the supermarket. She saw me, smiled, and said, "Your article was lovely. Your parents must be so proud." I forced a smile. Yeah, they're thrilled, but inside something shifted. At first, I hadn't wanted revenge, but now I felt they needed a reminder of how invisible I'd been to them and how good I'd gotten at it. A few days after that awkward encounter, I was packing my apartment, thoughts raw. I wasn't angry in that explosive, yell-at-the-sky way anymore. It was colder. I was done. Something in me had clicked. I'd spent years trying to earn their respect, to be seen the way Jorge had been since he could tie his shoes. And now that I'd achieved something huge, something they thought was impossible, they were upset about not being part of it. Not because they cared about me, but because it made them look bad. That distinction mattered. I didn't reply to the group chat. I didn't return calls. Instead, I doubled down on something I'd started quietly the year before, documenting everything I'd done for the family, especially financially. While working part-time and studying nonstop, I'd also been taking on responsibilities at home, quietly paying electric bills when they accidentally spiked, covering Sophia's surprise car repair when she cried to Mom, and Mom sighed, "Well, maybe Javier can help." I sent Jorge €1,000 when he forgot to pay rent 1 month in his second year and didn't want to ask Dad because it'd be a whole drama. They all remembered those things in the moment, but as soon as I stopped being useful, I was invisible again. So I started collecting receipts, not for the money, not really, but for the truth to make them see. I created a folder called Ignored Contributions, bills, transactions, messages asking for help, screenshots, dates. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it, but I wanted it ready. For once, I wanted proof that I wasn't the distant, moody one for no reason. I was that way because I'd learned to be. Meanwhile, the newspaper photo kept spreading. Old neighbors started commenting on my posts. Mateo told me his mom had clipped the article and stuck it on her fridge. I thought it was sweet until Sofia posted an Instagram story 2 days later, a photo of Jorge in his white coat, smiling like a toothpaste ad, captioned, "Proud of this one every day. Family goals." She didn't tag me, didn't mention me, just a not-so-subtle reminder of who they thought was worth celebrating. That's when I made a decision. The medical school I'd gotten into wasn't just any program. It was good, competitive, one of the best in the country, the kind people moved across regions for. I hadn't planned to move. I thought I'd save money by staying with family, commuting, helping out where I could. But suddenly, the idea of living under the same roof as people who only clapped when it made them look generous gave me goosebumps. I called the university's admissions office the next day and confirmed I'd take the relocation option, a student apartment 6 hours away, new city, new start. I didn't tell my parents, didn't even hint at it. Instead, I spent the next 3 weeks packing quietly. I kept it discreet, told Sofia I was reorganizing my room. When Jorge stopped by once for a charger, he didn't notice the boxes tucked in my closet. And the day I left, a Wednesday morning in late June, I left 2 things: my keys on the kitchen counter with a short note, "Not moving out, moving forward. I'll let you know when I get there," and a copy of the newspaper article, the one Sofia found, pinned to the fridge with a graduation cap magnet. Then I turned off my phone and drove. I expected a flood of messages, missed calls, maybe even guilt-tripping voicemails about abandoning the family. But when I turned my phone back on hours later, there were only 4 messages waiting. From Sofia, "Seriously, this is how you tell us." From Dad, "Good luck, I guess, keep us posted." From Mom, "Call when you get there and try not to be so dramatic." And the fourth from Jorge, "Let me know if you need help settling in. Proud of you, man." That last one caught me off guard. I stared at it for a long time, unsure if it was genuine or just damage control. I didn't respond, not yet. The new apartment was small, barely more than a room with a kitchenette, but it was mine. I unpacked slowly, set up my study area, hung a corkboard with quotes I liked. One reads, "Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers." I put it in the center. University orientation came and went. I made new friends. Professors learned my name. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was chasing someone else's legacy. Then, a week later, something odd happened. My roommate walked in holding a letter. "Hey, this came for you," he said. "Looks pretty formal." It was a thick cream envelope with embossed lettering. Inside was an elegant invitation. My parents were throwing a joint celebration dinner in honor of our sons, Jorge and Javier, future doctors of our family. It was at a fancy restaurant in my city, RSVPs, open bar, even a slideshow. But here's the kicker: they hadn't invited me. The envelope was addressed to Dr. Javier Ruiz, not from my parents, but from the restaurant. They never told me, never called, never asked if I'd attend. They just slapped my name on the invitation like I was an accessory to Jorge's success, like now that I had a bit of recognition, they could finally use me. That's when the plan took shape. I wasn't just going to skip the dinner. I was going to make sure they remembered exactly why I wasn't there, and I knew how. The idea hit me while staring at that stupid envelope. It wasn't anger, not even heartbreak. It was clarity, like a puzzle I'd been trying to solve for years finally clicking into place. They hadn't invited me, not directly. No call, no personal message, no, we want to celebrate you. They didn't care. They cared about the image, having both sons in medical SCHOOL Chinese letter. System, school, a perfect family picture to post about, toast to, and show off. I left the invitation under my desk lamp and stared at it for a long time. The thought of them raising glasses in my name while I was hundreds of kilometers away, like some silent backup, made my stomach churn. But I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to call or text or beg to be seen. I was going to show them what happens when you treat your son like a spare trophy. So I called Mateo. I need a favor, I said, and I promise it's going to be glorious. He was in immediately. What are we talking about? A billboard, a banner, a helicopter drop? I laughed. Not quite. I need someone to go to the dinner, not me, someone else. You want a proxy for a dinner you're not attending. Exactly, but not just anyone. I want someone with a camera. He got it instantly. You want evidence, not just evidence. I want to capture the look on their faces when they realize I'm not showing up, when they read the letter I'm going to have delivered, when the slideshow hits the part about me and there's nothing to show. Mateo was practically buzzing through the phone. Javi, this is next-level petty genius. What do you need me to do? Over the next few days, we set it up. I wrote a short, direct, unmistakable letter. I had it printed on thick linen paper and sealed in an envelope, not for elegance, but because I wanted it to feel final. The letter read, "To whom it may concern. Thank you for hosting a celebration in my honor without ever consulting me. You didn't ask if I wanted to be there. You didn't ask if I felt celebrated when I got into medical school. You didn't even say congratulations, so I hope tonight's toast goes well. I hope the slideshow runs smoothly. I hope the guests nod and clap and say, what a wonderful family. But I won't be there to smile for your cameras because I'm not a prop in someone else's narrative. I'm not a footnote in a story you only tell when it suits you. Sincerely, Javier Ruiz." I had a courier arranged by Mateo deliver the envelope in person, not some kid in a hoodie, but a proper, suited-up delivery service. Someone who'd show up, ask for my parents by name, and hand over the letter during the dinner, right when they were planning the toast. Meanwhile, Mateo was my inside man. He got an invite through a cousin who knew Sofia. He dressed up, brought a camera disguised as a phone stabilizer, and promised to record everything discreetly. The night of the dinner, I wasn't anxious or bitter. I made myself tea, lit a candle, and watched the sunset from my apartment window. It was calm. I felt free. Then at 8:37 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Mateo, delivered. You won't believe what happened next. And then the photos came. Blurry at first, people seated at long white-draped tables, glasses raised, a projector set up near the back wall. The slideshow had started. Pictures of Jorge, his white coat ceremony, first day of class, a group shot with classmates. None of me. Then Mateo said, a slide came up that read, and now our other future doctor, Javier. Except there was no photo, just a spinning loading icon, a file that hadn't uploaded. Then the courier arrived, approaching the table, all business. He handed the envelope to my mom. She opened it, read a line, and froze. My dad snatched it and read the rest. Mateo wrote, you could feel the air change like someone opened a freezer in July. Sofia grabbed the paper, skimmed it, and whispered loudly, what is wrong with him, such a diva? My mom stood, trying to regain control, and raised her glass. Well then, to our sons, she said, voice shaky, both working hard to become doctors. No one clapped. Jorge stared at his plate and didn't say a word. The last photo Mateo sent was of the dessert table, untouched cake slices, a photo frame labeled Congratulations, Javier and Jorge, with 2 printed pictures clipped to the corner. Except only one picture was there. The other clip hung empty. Mateo's final text, you did it. You stole the show without even showing up. I didn't reply. I looked at the photo and smiled. Then the next day I got a message I didn't expect. From Jorge, I didn't know they didn't tell you. I thought you were coming. Can we talk? That's when I realized this story wasn't over. Not yet. I didn't respond to Jorge's message right away. I sat with it, reread it the next morning, again that afternoon, and once more late at night when I couldn't sleep. I kept wondering, did he really not know? Or was this just more damage control now that it was public? But something about his tone, short, direct, almost unsure, didn't fit the polished, confident Jorge I grew up with. It felt real human. So for the first time since this started, I decided to stop assuming. I told him we could talk, just the two of us, over a video call. He called that night, and for once, he didn't start with a joke or a rehearsed line. He just looked at the screen for a second before saying, look, I leaned back in my chair. So you didn't know? Jorge shook his head. I swear, Javi, they told me you were invited, that you'd be there. Mom said you were being dramatic and not responding. I thought you'd show up last minute and pull one of your stunts. That last comment stung, but I let it slide. I never got an invitation, I said. I didn't even know it was happening until the restaurant sent me a formal letter. They were throwing a dinner with my name on it, and no one told me. Jorge rubbed his face. I didn't know, I knew things were tense, but I didn't realize how bad it got. It's always been like this, I said, quieter. You just didn't have to notice. You were too busy being the favorite. He sighed. Yeah, I think I wanted to believe everything was fine between you and them because it made things easier for me. I didn't want to see how differently they treated you. I didn't say anything, he went on. But after that letter, and after watching Mom try to fake that toast, man, it was obvious. You were right, you're not just a prop. You deserve more than a footnote in your own story. It was the first time in my life Jorge admitted I was right. It didn't erase everything, but it mattered. Then he said something I didn't expect. You know, I never really liked that party they threw for me, the med school one. It felt like they were celebrating themselves, not me, like they were more excited about telling people they raised a future doctor than about me actually getting in. I blinked. You never said that. Would you have believed me? He was right. The call ended on an odd note, not resolution, but a handshake between two people finally starting to see each other clearly. We didn't become best friends overnight, but something had shifted. After that, things moved fast. My mom texted 3 days later with a long paragraph about how things got out of hand and how she wished I'd talked to them about my feelings instead of trying to embarrass everyone. I replied with one sentence. If I'd ever felt heard, I wouldn't have needed to write the letter. She didn't respond. Dad tried calling. I let it go to voicemail. His message was short, stiff, more about how the letter caught them off guard than anything close to an apology. I deleted it without listening to the end. But Sophia, she posted something on social media. A blurry photo of her wine glass with white text. Some people love playing the victim. Must be exhausting. I didn't take the bait, not because I didn't have a comeback. I had plenty, but because I'd finally learned the difference between revenge and healing. Revenge was for them. Healing was for me. Instead of falling back into the old dynamic, I focused on building the life I'd fought for. Medical school was brutal, nights studying until my eyes burned, mornings chugging coffee like water, afternoons buried in clinical cases and practicals. But I loved it. I thrived. And slowly, I started to feel like the world I'd built for myself, without my family's applause, was the most honest thing I'd ever had. I still talked to Jorge occasionally. He sent me a surgical anatomy book for my birthday with a sticky note inside that just said, "This helped me. Hope it helps you." I kept it on my desk. Sophia and I didn't speak again, and my parents and I exchanged 3 messages over the next year, mostly superficial holiday greetings, polite but empty. We never brought up the dinner. They didn't either. The silence between us wasn't awkward anymore. It was peaceful. Then about a year later, something happened. I got an email from the university. They'd chosen me for a feature in their quarterly alumni newsletter, a special on first-year students doing exceptional work in clinical practice. They asked for a photo and a quote. I sent one of me in scrubs outside the hospital, smiling with a stethoscope around my neck, and my quote, "The people who believe in you are your real family, blood or not." When the newsletter went out, it was shared on the university's social media. Old friends reposted it. Mateo sent a string of celebratory emojis. I didn't think much of it until I got a message from my aunt, my mom's sister. She wrote, "Just saw the post. Wow, I had no idea you were doing so well. Your parents don't talk about you much anymore. They say things are complicated, but I just want to say I'm proud of you. Really." That hit harder than I expected, not because I needed her validation, but because it confirmed something I'd suspected for a while. My family wasn't just silent about me. They were rewriting the story entirely. They weren't proud, they were embarrassed. Not because of what I'd done, but because I refused to play my part, because I stood up and said, "No, you don't get to celebrate me when it's convenient. You don't get to put me on your shelf after leaving me in the shadows." And you know what? I'm okay with that. I graduate next year. Mateo says we're throwing the biggest party the city's ever seen. No borrowed backyards or soft lights this time. He's talking about a rooftop with a view, a string quartet, custom cocktails, the works. And who's on the guest list? Only the people who were there when it mattered. No room for performative toasts, no space for empty chairs, just real faces, real support, real love. Because in the end, it's not about revenge. It's about recognition, and I don't need theirs anymore.